Transformation. You probably heard of tech projects where people say, well, here's technology and let's do the transformation. Maybe remember it worked well, okay-ish, or not even that. And we have an expert on the matter with us here today. Hello and welcome, Barbara Wittmann.
Hi, glad to be here today with you.
Thank you very much for taking the time and having the time for us today. So you are the
Sure.
founder of what we have here, the Digital Wisdom Collective. Technology alone doesn't transform people, do it? Probably many people will now say, finally, someone picks that up. So can you give me more details on what is the Digital Wisdom Collective about? What do you do? What do you focus on?
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of how I came to do this, because for 25 years I rescued failed transformation projects. So
Oh,
I was coming in when, technology project went sideways, and you wouldn't believe it, but there were many.
yeah, of course.
Um,
I believe me,
yeah, it's like
as an interim manager, I do believe that this happens. Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
So, and I started seeing the same pattern repeating itself over and over again. And that pattern was that it was never a technology issue. It was always an issue of people not empowered enough, people not, used in the right places, people scared of speaking up what they see. And finally, 2 years ago, I was like, we got to turn the equation around. And I need to package everything into a framework, and I need to empower organizations and people to really bring out their talents better, and also to build what I call a human infrastructure within the organization so
Mm.
projects don't fail.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you say this afraid to talk and especially afraid speaking up, because often people say, look, we knew this issue was there. We
Yes.
knew that the acceptance isn't there. We knew, however, anyone knew, as soon as you open your mouth, there is this, the messenger is going to be the one who gets shot first. So how
Yeah.
do you change, especially when people say this is a long-standing organizational culture which didn't
Mhm.
happen overnight. So how do you change that when it's really ingrained into the organizational culture?
Yeah. So there's always at least one person in the organization, or, usually two or three, that really want to do things different, that
Mhm.
really have that, urge inside, and they see things, but they don't have a place where they get seen for them being different. And also, they don't have a place where they learn on how to really, stand their ground.
Mm.
So, what I found is that you cannot change things within the organization necessarily without starting like a huge transformation change project that no one wants. So, with the Digital Wisdom Collective, I have basically created an outside space of the organization where these lonesome leaders, if you will, can come to, and they have a practice space where they can train a different way of showing up.
Hmm.
They have a way of upgrading their mindset and, really learning how to powerfully facilitate and also address delicate things. So basically, I've developed a sandbox where they can train their muscle and go back and start, um, doing it right away, or starting to change things a little bit in the organization. Usually,
Mm.
what happens is that people get intrigued and they're like, "Wow, that guy is showing up differently. What is he doing?" So if you have 4 or 5 people within the organization that are thinking differently, that's when it really starts to take hold, and that's when change starts happen.
Mm. Excellent. Especially today, many people talk about transformation and they say, well, we need to do things better, yet implementation still often fails. So from your
Yeah.
perspective, are there specific behaviors where you say that this is the practical behavior that make the difference from success to failure?
So transformation also always starts with one,
Hmm.
and transformation always starts within. So what I teach people in the collective is basically how to clean up their own limiting beliefs and what
Hmm.
they think about themselves. Because for the most part, it's people that are not IT experts that, where it's running rampant in their head. Oh no, I can't say anything because I'm not the IT dude, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Um,
Others know more
so
about this. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So as soon as you're starting to rewire how you think about what your capability is, and as soon as you realize that you actually have something to say, you can start making an impact.
Mm. Excellent. So, in which format are people going to learn with you? Is it a group setting, one-to-one coaching? How do you approach this? Because this is a topic where people are probably not too easy to open up about because they are reasonably senior in their role. So, opening up saying,
Yeah.
I do not master this is probably not the easiest step for them to do.
Yeah. So it is smaller cohorts
Hmm.
that are being run, and it's always the same group, obviously. And we are designing a shared field of trust and safety at the start. And we go in different elements. We basically crunch very practical problems where people are learning a framework on how they can actually understand the problem before jumping into solution. So very practical things. And then they work independently through workbooks where they can address questions along the way and say, hey, I've had a situation here and this is how it played out. What did I do wrong?
Mm.
So it is very hands-on, very practical. It is based on a cross-industry learning experience.
Hmm.
And the baseline of a safe space where you can come in and you can show up as you are.
Brilliant. Excellent. So when people now say, okay, I'm sitting here, but I still wonder, transformation starts with one. However, what happens when I go into your space? I learn something and I just figure out I am still one amongst many. And many people say, look, we're in a large corporation, just keep your head down. Everything's going to work out some way or the other and just keep your head down. How do they move from this, I am just one, and maybe the starting
Yeah,
point? However, how do I
yeah.
bring it into this huge corporation where I'm always at risk of being the one where they say, not you.
Mhm. So a big piece is that most people who are in that space and that say, "Hey, I'm just one person and I have a different idea. No one's going to listen to me," they're basically in the victim corner.
Hmm.
So, with them getting encouraged just by seeing that other people have the same issue and, coming out and saying, wow, maybe I can really make a difference, they show up different and they are not showing up as victim anymore. And they
Mm.
realize that they can make a difference, but just in their own little world, in their own little space. Because usually you go into organizations and it's like, oh no, we can't do that because the strategy doesn't, push that way, or
Hmm.
oh no, I've tried this 10 times before. And once you realize that actually within your area of influence, you can make small changes that actually make your life a lot happier,
Hmm.
um, that's when it gets interesting. And again, I mean, you can stay one person, but usually it's a little bit of a snowball, and others are like, well, maybe I should learn that too.
Mm. Absolutely. When you now say it's a bit, when I prepared for this interview, I of course asked people in the field, what is a question you would like to ask Barbara? And one question popped up quite frequently, and that was, so based on your professional journey, what is the,
Mhm.
when you could only pick one, when you could only pick one, what is it about leadership, organizational effectiveness, and transformation you believe most executives still underestimate? If you could only pick one aspect.
Having a map that shows you on a very high level where you are and where you want to go.
Mm,
And that is still the biggest thing that is missing for leadership and for organizations, because metaphorically, you know, we may both be in a category where we still used maps when we drove
hmm.
places. Yeah. And you could physically see, hey, I'm here and I want to go here. And today, and even more so with AI, we're all driving with a GPS and we lose orientation.
Mm. Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, one question I also need to ask, because that was the second most question coming up here. People said, I see that we need to change something, even others see, but then there's one aspect which showed up. We have an external investor, someone with money, someone who is not a subject matter expert, who does not hold the expertise they should hold. However, they have an idea and they push for that idea without knowing too much details on the matter of the organization, but they are absolutely obsessed with what they think is the right way. How do I influence an organization when suddenly the person withholding all the money has a different idea than you have? When you fear that when you say we should change, they say, I think the change is removing you.
Yeah. And that happens a lot, especially with AI, because every
Hmm.
investor has that massive idea that, oh my God,
Yeah.
the world is going to be
Billionaire
happier.
by tomorrow. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the problem here is that everyone has silent assumptions, but no one has really, talked about it. So the
Mm.
investor has an assumption that we don't know about. but we start running right away. Yeah.
Mm,
Investor kicks it to the CEO. The CEO has an assumption. He kicks it to the IT guy. The IT guy may push back.
mm.
And then the CEO says, "Oh, it's that IT dude again, party pooper.
Yeah,
Um, I got to give it
classic
to
one.
somebody else." But if they all would sit down and say, "Okay, we are in the boat. We need to modernize. AI is a great thing." To stay with the example, and then you would be surprised on, once you talk about it, that you actually come out with a clear marching order. It's often things we are telling ourselves, oh my God, if I push back, I'm going to get canned.
Mm,
It's not about pushing back, it's just about understanding the context. So don't be afraid of asking questions.
hmm Absolutely. And of course, one question I have to ask as the last and final one, when someone now says, I think Barbara could be really helpful either with her initiative or maybe as a speaker or a coach or as a consultant in our industry or maybe in my company, how can people get in touch with you?
The easiest is go to the website, digitalwisdom.co for Colorado, because that's where I live.
Mhm.
And there's a little button for book a call, and we can see, how it all fits. The other place to stay up to speed on my thinking is on my Substack, or connect with me on LinkedIn.
Perfect. I think these are the perfect final words. So you see transformation can work, and now you know where to get the right help. Excellent. Thank you very much, Barbara, for your time.
Thank you.